Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my movie vlog. My name is John Campea, and this is the companion video to the episode of the John Campea Show that shot earlier today on Monday, December the 18th. There was a bunch of questions still left by the time we ran out of time on the show, and I promised everybody I would do a companion video to answer all the remaining questions, and we're going to do that right now. Now, listen, before we get to those questions, though, I want to give a warning to everybody that within some of these questions, I've only looked at a couple of them, but a couple of them have Star Wars The Last Jedi spoilers in them. Therefore, if you have not seen Star Wars The Last Jedi, or if you care about this at all, don't watch this video quite yet, because a couple of the questions do refer to things that would be considered spoilers from Star Wars The Last Jedi. Okay, with that warning being given, let's jump into it. And the first question from this morning that we didn't have time to get around to comes to us from Samuel Varg, who writes, small spoiler for The Last Jedi, should Phasma have been the one blasting the bridge of the Resistance ship? We didn't see who it was, just a random pilot. Well, actually, no, because Phasma isn't a pilot. That's not her thing. She is the head of the stormtroopers, really. She is ground forces. That's what Phasma is. She is not a pilot, per se. So the idea that she would have been flying wing for Kylo Ren actually wouldn't make any sense. Yes, it was a random pilot, but it is a first-order pilot, and they are skilled, and that's what they do. And that's why it made more sense that they did it. It wouldn't have made any sense for Phasma to be flying, because that's not her role in the military there. Good question, though. All right. The next question comes to us from Jamie, who writes, why did Brad Pitt bother to buy the film rights for World War Z if he was just going to use the title? It craps on the book. The movie is garbage. Well, number one, Jimmy, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I actually think World War Z was quite good, and I think a lot of people really quite enjoyed it, and I think the reviews for it were pretty good too. I like the movie. I think it's a good, solid movie. Now, you're right, though. It does take an awful lot of liberties from the book. It does. However, why did Brad Pitt buy the rights? Because of this. There's enough from the book and enough similarities between the book and the movie that if Brad Pitt hadn't bought the rights to the book, and if they just made that movie without purchasing the rights to the book, the people who did own the rights to the book could have sued Brad Pitt for plagiarism. There's enough similar in that movie that it would have been a problem. So for him to make that movie, he had to buy the rights. And once he did, he was free and had the liberty to take some liberties if he wanted to. And he did, and I think it made for a pretty good movie. But that's just my opinion. You didn't like it, and that's totally cool. But that's why, even though there are significant differences between the movie and the book, why he had to secure those rights, because there's enough similar that had he not secured the rights, there could have been lawsuits. So that's why he did that. All right, next question comes to us from Damon Morton, who writes, do you think a multiverse could work for X-Men in the MCU? Current MCU and X-Men on two different Earths, but still allow for crossovers. Could be created by the Infinity Gems and would satisfy both fan divides. Here's the problem. This has come up a few times. The problem as I see it, and maybe I'm dead wrong about this, but the problem as I see it is that I think a lot of people who are the general movie-going audience would find this concept really silly and just not buy into it. The hardcore X-Men fans and comic book nerds who understand the multiverse and all these alternate realities that the comics play with all the time, yeah, we'd be fine with it. But I think, and I always go back to my mom as the average moviegoer. My mom's a good representation of the average moviegoer. I think my mom would look at that. And my mom loves good comic book movies and all that kind of stuff, but I think she would look at that and go, that's really dumb. And they've left the general movie-going audience behind just so they could fan service some of the hardcore fans, and I don't think that would work. So I don't think that's the right direction for them to go. I do not think it would work. Then again, I could be wrong. We've seen Stranger Things, so maybe they could go in that direction. And obviously, Damon, you're not the only one to bring this up, so obviously there are other people thinking about it too. So like I said, maybe I'm in the minority. All right, next one comes to us from Shivom Dixit, who writes, funnier MCU movie, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 or Thor Ragnarok? Ooh. I'm going to go Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I thought Thor Ragnarok was very good and was very funny. But I'm going to give the edge to Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I think that one gave me a few more laughs and a few harder laughs at the same time. So I think both the movies are great. They're both action comic book films with some great humor. But I'm going to lean towards, myself, Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Which one would you say is the funnier film? Jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. All right, the next one comes to us from Devonte Brown, who writes, Sup John, any updates on people who sued Alamo Drafthouse for marketing of a Wonder Woman screening? Despite its good intentions, do they legally have a case? And then Devonte also follows it up with, P.S. Guys suing the Alamo were assholes, but I was always worried for them about legal issues with the Wonder Woman screening. So if I'm understanding, if I'm remembering the example that Devonte is talking about, when Wonder Woman was coming out, it's the first female-led superhero era movie of this new era, like of the post, like say, MCU era, since the MCU got started. We haven't had a true, legitimate female lead superhero movie since then. Like, certainly none of the major female superhero films, and Wonder Woman is the first one coming out of the gate. So, if I remember it correctly, and maybe I'm not remembering it correctly, Alamo Drafthouse decided that they were going to do to celebrate it, they're going to have an advanced girls-only screening to come and celebrate this female-led superhero movie. Well, a bunch of assholes, backward-thinking, overprivileged misogynists, and I can't even say the word right, so how can I even refer to it? Decide to get together and go, no, women shouldn't have anything special. Everything special and everything privileged should be for men only. And they decided that just to be assholes, they decided they were going to bring a lawsuit against Alamo Drafthouse. I can't speak today. Alamo Drafthouse. To sue them for having a discriminatory screening. It's like, oh my God, guys, please. Like there's already this perception that men are assholes, and you are just contributing to the perception of us being assholes, like, all the time. So, anyway, they decided to do that. Whatever happened with that lawsuit, to be honest with you, I have no idea. No clue whatever happened to that lawsuit, but it really does reek of privilege, and guys, it's like, really, like, these guys are completely unaware. It's like, you do realize, like, for the past 100 years, every major, or 1,000 years, whatever, every major advantage in life generally gets given to men, and men get higher salaries, and men has been picked this over this, and, like, men have it much better than women, or at least historically have. You really have a problem with, like, celebrating a female lead movie that we haven't had, considering we've had 85 other male lead movies come out before this, but we finally get this one female lead movie, and we can't just have a special single screening as a celebration for an all-girl screening, and there's something wrong with that? Give me a break. Give me a break. Losers. Absolute losers. Anyway, thanks a lot for the question, Devonte. Next one comes to us from Alan Gonzalez, who writes, Snoke gets cloned or has a twin brother? No, I don't think so. I think Snoke's dead and gone, and I think that was the logical conclusion of where this new Star Wars trilogy had to go. I think this was always heading towards Kylo and Rey, and it's going to be those two. And those are the two opposing forces heading into Episode 9. I think that was the way it was always going to be, and I think Snoke is just dead. Snoke's gone. He's out of the way. Kylo Ren is all hail the Supreme Leader. Supreme Leader is dead. All hail the new Supreme Leader in Kylo Ren. So that's the way I think they're going with it, Alan. All right, next one comes to us from Mega Movies, who writes, Hey, John, love your show, and you inspire me to become a reviewer. I want to do my review for The Last Jedi, but if I say I like it, people will bash me for my opinion. Yeah, I mean, that's true. There are just a chunk of people out there who are so mentally weak, they cannot handle you having a different opinion than they have. And it doesn't matter what it's about. If you have a different opinion than they do about something, it makes them so insecure that they have to lash out at people having a different opinion. And we're talking about movies here. We're talking about movies. But it's part of the reality. Like, to me, like, say, hey, you don't like a movie I love? Okay, cool. I mean, I think it's unfortunate. Maybe I think you're a little crazy, but all right, if you don't like a movie that I like, that's fine. You love a movie I hate? No big deal. I mean, okay, I think you're crazy, but that's cool. You dislike it, that's fine. And that's the way people need to be. We just need to understand films are subjective. But the reality is, that's the ideal. The ideal is all of film fandom understands film is subjective, and we're going to have different opinions, and that means somebody's going to like a movie that you don't, and other people are going to dislike movies that you like. And that's okay. That's fine. There are people out there who don't like Star Wars The Last Jedi. I really like the film, despite the fact that I have some problems with it. You know, the Finn stuff, the Rose stuff, Benicio del Toro's character, I think they wasted Phasma. I have problems with the movie. Overall, I loved it. But you didn't? Okay, that's cool. You didn't. Great. That's the way, that's the ideal. However, the reality is there are a bunch of very mentally weak, unstable, pathetic basement dwellers who are so weak that they can't handle that somebody else thinks differently than them. And they have to lash out. So all I got to tell you is that that's a daily reality. Like, I face it. Everybody who does online reviews or online punditry of any sorts, they face it. And it's not just movies, like people who blog about music, I mean. People who blog about politics, the people who blog about whatever. Anything where some loser out there who is not secure enough in their own opinion that they have to lash out at anybody having a different opinion than them, that's the reality. So if you want to get into this, I remember when I was working back at AMC and the other companies that I worked with, I would often have to sit down with staff and tell them, because they would get some negative comments from people and it would really hurt them. And they'd want to lash back out. And I said, look, if you're going to be in this business, you just have to accept this is going to happen. Like, some things go over the line and we would respond to, but like just somebody calling you an idiot because you like something that they didn't, or vice versa, that's the reality. It's going to happen. And if you want to get into this, you're just going to have to accept that that happens. That doesn't excuse the pathetic basement dwelling assholes for their behavior, but they are there. And in a pathetic basement dwelling asshole world, and there are a bunch of them there, you just have to accept that if you're going to get online and do stuff, there are going to be people who disagree with you. And that's fine. It's not fine that they act like assholes, but you just got to accept that that's going to be part of it too. So I wish I could give you better news, but that is the reality of it. All right. Next one comes to us from Tony Bush. And Tony Bush writes, love the musical number in The Shape of Water. I did too. First of all, that movie is just magic and brilliant. And I think Guillermo del Toro's best film. I even liked it more than Pan's Labyrinth. And I love Pan's Labyrinth. But I like this movie even more. I had a great time with it. And you're right. When the music number started in The Shape of Water, I'm not going to give any spoilers away other than the fact that, hey, in this movie, a music number exists. That's it. But I will admit that when it started, I was like, oh, come on. Really? They're going to do this? But then I got right into it, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought it fit the movie really well. Adam Griffin writes, what happened to Snap Wexley? I can only assume he must have died. He must have died, or maybe he was one of the bomber pilots, or maybe I missed. I don't think he died in the first movie, but all I can assume is that somewhere between here and here he died, and he died off camera. That's all I got left. Other than that, I have no explanation about where he is. Tony Bush writes, if Valkyrie is not floating in space, is she dead? Well, we already know that Tessa Thompson, is going to be in more films. We know that. So she doesn't die. And whatever happens at the end of Thor Ragnarok, whatever that is, we know she doesn't die. How, where, when, what, why, all these questions we're just going to have to wait to find out. But I know she's not dead because, they already know she's going to be in more movies. So she is not dead. What happens to her, we're going to have to wait and find out. All right, just a couple questions more. Helena von Landstein writes, make Jin great again. Can we please all have a moment for General Akbar? I think you meant Admiral Akbar. Sorry I'm coming from your Star Wars video, John. Yep, that's right. Pour out a glass or a fishbowl or whatever for good old Admiral Akbar. Mega Movies writes, you've said you've cried at movies 3 times. What movies? Well, the 2 I can remember off the top of my head. I think it might have been 4 times I've cried at movies. But the couple I can remember off the top of my head, and I answered this question the other day, actually. One is the Italian film, the Academy Award-winning film, Life is Beautiful by Roberto Benigni. Nobody doesn't cry at the end of that movie. Everybody cries at the end of that movie. The other one is My Best Friend's Wedding, the scene at the end with Julia Roberts calling her best friend, played by Rupert Everett, only to discover that Rupert Everett, her friend, had flown across the country and was there in the room because he knew his friend would need him to be there to support her. Acts of kindness, acts of extreme loyalty and friendship in movies, those are the things that really get me in movies, and those are the ones that really mean a lot to me. All right, guys, those are all the questions that we didn't have time to get to in the John Campea Show earlier today. You have a thought or opinion about any of the things that we answered here today, jump down to the comment section and leave your thoughts below. And listen, guys, if you happen to just stumble across this video and you're not yet one of the 100 plus thousand subscribers to my YouTube channel, do me a favor. click the subscribe button, become a subscriber to this channel. Make sure you click the thumbs up button, leave a comment or a thought in the comment section below. And also make sure you follow me on social media, simply at John Campea. That'll do it for me, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.